If people were eating correctly and thinking and imagining correctly, they wouldn't have any health problems. They wouldn't have any problems.
It's got.
Hello, Perry. We're just talking about how people would not have any health problems or any problems at all. If they ate correctly and thought correctly and imagined correctly, they wouldn't have any problems at all. Actually, imagination rules over matter. It rules over negative beings. It rules over negative extraterrestrials. It rules over the misuse of technology. It rules over hydrogen bombs. It rules over chemtrails. It rules over everything. People on Earth have been manipulated to not even believe or even think that way. So how can they change anything? The imagination is so powerful that one single being, or Atma, can be tricked into using it to think negative thoughts of fear about themselves in the future and wanting wonderful things for themselves, and at the same time the two go out at once and ground each other, neutralize each other. One's positive, one's negative, and they just short circuit. That's how you trap people in bodies on a planet without any memory. The energy people use, the energy that's used to trap people is manipulated so that the being that's being trapped is using their own energy to trap themselves without even knowing they're doing it. Because of subconscious terrorizing fear. Programs that have been placed in their field, their electromagnetic field that surrounds them. And they look through that field into the universe and they see distortions of reality reflected back on them. And they go, oh, I can't make that decision. I got to go this way because I'm afraid if I do that, Satan might get me, or if I get out of my body, somebody will catch me. I point out to people who think that way, wait a minute. You're already on Earth, you're already caught, and you can't get out. What are you thinking? You're going to go out of your body and get trapped? You're already trapped here. You want to get untrapped is the problem. They're thinking about it all backwards.
How to remove that electromagnetic field or subconscious?
The first step towards that is by learning and discovering, reawakening really how to use the creative imagination properly and what it is. If you don't know what it is, what can you do with it? It's like, I don't know what it is. My brain makes it up. That's what mommy told me, or daddy, or my priest, or a politician or somebody says, oh, people in college. Your brain imagines this and that. No, that's not true. It's completely wrong from the ground up, totally backwards. The brain doesn't imagine anything ever. It's not what it's for. That's not what it's designed to do. It's designed to run the complex systems of a human body. Seeing, hearing, interpreting, speech, vocal cords, coordination. That's what it's designed to do. But it does nothing and runs nothing, doesn't even move an arm without a being pushing buttons in the brain and the nervous system to get these things to work. It takes an actual being that's not a body to run a brain in a body. The being is the one imagining, not the brain. First rule of thumb in Tyrant School 101 to trap people. Get them to imagine that they imagine in here. And they're trapped, they're not free, because they'll be trying to change things here, thinking they're doing it in their brain, and they aren't. It's like walking on a treadmill, you don't go anywhere. I know it's new information for a lot of people, but information doesn't change people either. Information that leads to the practice or techniques that actually involves the person's own co-creative, correct use of the imagination with beings and energies that are free, that leads to recovery, recall, awakening, enlightenment. It means a person has to use their imagination, a faculty from their own spherical shaped energy that's them, the soul, the Atma. They have to exercise and use their higher faculties with this omnipresent living energy in all things, because it cooperates with us. If we put negative and positive things into it, it will completely fulfill what we put into it. It will create it out of this omnipresent energy field, which is the power itself. We as individual beings are not the power. The power is one power and we live in it. And we're individuals in it, made of the same thing, same energy. So if we want to manifest anything, we have to rely on the entire field of energy to do that. We co-create into it through the correct use of the imagination, which is not making things up in your mind or your brain.
Scott, may I say this because from the first time when I read your book, The Series Agenda, you mentioned that to use the correct imagination. Okay, even when we do show together, it takes me some time to understand exactly what you mean.
Sure, of course it does.
So by,
for listeners, okay, I know what you're saying, but for listeners, if this is the first, and I know that there's people in Asia that don't even speak English, so they're probably not hearing any of this consciously, but the hue, the vibration of the hue I do during these shows when I start sending them out, in the Atma form, we speak and understand all languages. That means all the beings who don't think they can on Earth, thinking they're a brain and a body, are not going to be conscious that they can do this. But they're telepathic and they don't know this. So on another level, they're going to be able to hear exactly what's being said and see and understand it, particularly when they go to sleep at night and their body's asleep and they are out of the body somewhere else with higher faculties and more consciousness turned on, not limited to what has been done to these bodies on this planet. It limits higher faculties severely. So when they're out at night, most people don't really remember very much of what they do. Here and there, bring something back, sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's all distorted and all that kind of thing. The truth of the matter is none of that they bring back in the morning is in the brain at all. None of it. Their lack of understanding and the influences that are in them subconsciously that are negative influence the way they and how much and how clearly they bring back information. When they're out in the experience, they're seeing and having it quite clearly. Time they get it back into this body and wake this body up with all the fears and all the stuff they grew up with, distorts that. So what's really important for people is to be able to have a way to calm their being, to go into the center of their white luminous core of the Atma itself. It isn't the physical body and it's not the brain. People need to have a way to go into serenity of being, into a deep calm within themselves, and then work with this sound vibration that opens doors and connects them to beings that can help them. Beings that speak their language, that can instruct them at night when they're out of their body in their own language. So this is going to be important that people understand that. They can take my book, The Series Agenda, and put it under their pillow. It's in English. But if they do it with a certain amount of focus of attention, and if they determine not to take any negative thing into bed with them when they go to sleep, fear of money, loss of relationships, somebody died, just before they go to bed, to put all their concerns about life in imagination in the bookshelf behind them or on the carpet somewhere, just like in a computer hard drive, just stick it aside. That's very important because they're setting up the conditions through the imagination of what they want this omnipresent living energy that's in all things, even the void of space. It's telling it what you want it to do with you. We're like little gods running around in a huge God energy, telling it how to trap us and set us free and trap us and set us free, and it just cooperates. So tyrants know that. If they can get people to imagine their own trap with their own power, their own energy, then they've got them. They can use that energy. They can keep them on Earth. They can keep them slaves. They can compel them to incarnate with no memory on a world like this planet. I know because it was done to me, and it's done to everyone on this planet. No one comes to this planet unconscious of free will. No one comes to this planet because of God's will, a Savior's will, Buddha's will, Hindu God's will, or a Muslim will, or anything else. They believe this. It's not my place to tell someone what to believe, but I can for sure say no one comes to this planet with no memory of who they are, what they are, that isn't the physical body, on purpose, who says, yes, I don't want to have any memory. Put me back on Earth. That's nonsense. How can a person go into an incarnation on a planet with no former memory, no wisdom, none of the other existences they've ever lived in eternity, and get it right? Well, you can't. It's like having a starship with 6 thrusters to power it. You're only working on 1. It doesn't work. You know, it's like faith is a great place to start because it gets people motivated to believe in someone they respect, a past guru or teacher. But the responsibility we have as individuals is to learn how to be conscious, trustworthy co-creators with the source of life itself while we're here, or any other planet or place. It's our job to get that right. To do that, we have to know how to use the gift or the faculty of the creative imagination properly. And there's only one correct way to use it, at all, period, no other, or you get in trouble. You get into karma and reincarnation, all this stuff. The one way to use it correctly is to, of conscious free will, deliberately create and imagine and invent only those things which will be of uplifting benefit to all life. If people want to play in a huge universe, what they call God, all the dimensions, billions of planets and higher dimensions, and play in that, they have to respect life in all of it, or they will not be allowed to. It's just that simple. So people on Earth need to learn how to respect all life, animal, plant, mineral, each other, and more importantly, even life on other worlds, because there's infinitely more life out there, far more evolved, human and otherwise, than are on this planet. And if we can't respect that going out there, they're going to keep us quarantined to this solar system forever. I'm going to let a bunch of knuckleheads from Earth go out there and pollute the universe. Space is already occupied by more advanced races. Even the tyrant races are more advanced than people on Earth. Few of them that there are. Fortunately, they're being contained and dealt with by a much greater organization of world systems that are kind, or we would all be dead right now. Life on this planet would not exist if tyrants had their way. It's because I know this that I don't worry about the future of this planet. I don't worry about nuclear war. It's temporary. All those fears are being orchestrated and done deliberately to keep people pacified, fear, under control. It's not a new technology to abuse beings. And I'm not talking about abusing bodies now, beings that run bodies. You don't trap a body to trap a being. You trap a being to think it's trapped in a body. Then you've got them. This is really important information because you see, if it's true for all life. Down deep in the core of a being, which isn't a body, it's, like I said, it's spherical shaped energy, like a sun or a moon or a planet, but a radiant energy and has structure. That is who we really are. That is who we have always been. It is that form that is the image of the source, not this. They got that all wrong on Earth. This form is not in the image of the source at all. There's no one up in the source that looks like this unless they want to present an image of a physical form to you. But that's not how they really look. So the reason I share this stuff this way is because I happen to know with certainty that every being alive on any world and on Earth has the capability, not the body, not the brain, the being has the capability to remember this, to awaken it, to work with it, to recover it, to regain what they once were in conscious awareness long ago, and then go further from there with the assistance and help of friendship of many other beings and races on many levels, on many worlds, in many dimensions, higher heavens, parallel dimensions, billions and trillions of planets, all out there. And Atma has the ability to play in all of that and understand it. A brain in a human body does not. It can't. It's not designed to handle that much information. But the actual being, the soul, or the Atma, as beings from other worlds call it correctly, has the factual capability, functional characteristics, and attributes and faculties to understand and play, and all of that. You don't get anybody on earth teaching people and kids when they're growing up about any of this. So when they're grown up as adults, why should they have any reality on it being anything but some fantasy? You know what the fantasy is? The one they've got here on earth, thinking that's it. They've been so compressed and dumbed down to being in a body on a planet, thinking that's all there is from what they once knew. That's the trap for the Atma, for soul. People are afraid of leaving their body. I got news for them. Problem is they're already stuck here. You can't get any more trapped. You know, bodies can be killed and the Atma cannot be destroyed. The being never dies. It's not made of atoms. It's energy, but it's not of a molecular nature. It's higher science, if you want to look at it that way. It is energy, but it's an energy that has no negative in it. There's no positive and negative in that energy, which means that the natural state of a being, you and I and everyone else on earth, has nothing to do with negative emotions at all. It never did. That we've been manipulated to believe that and put our imagination and feeling to that, that's the trap. So we want to undo that, reverse that, get that consciousness changed, right? We're all the same way this way. We want to remember. There's probably not a person on this earth that doesn't think something happened to them that they don't agree with, that they didn't give their consent to, that they're somewhat deeply angry about living out their life with wives and kids and grandfathers, and something at the core of their being that's quite ticked off about the fact that they're here and don't remember anything. It's any wonder people go postal, as they call it, just start shooting anything and everybody, just to have an effect, even a negative one, on life. Most beings don't crack up under pressure like that, but a few do. Not the whole planet, a few. The way our news systems are on this planet, when anybody gets shot or somebody takes a gun and shoots somebody, or, you know, there's 7.5 billion people on this planet, maybe more. And when that happens, everybody on the whole planet knows about it, and it's pumped out to the news every day, every little negative thing. So people think it's happening on every corner. It's not. There, even with all that going on, there's far less killing and murder and all this stuff on this planet than there was 5,000 years ago, where it was done much more horrifically, only there was no news to tell anybody it was being done. There's a huge difference. In that regard, our planetary society is somewhat more evolved than in what they call ancient times. But it's just more sophisticated. The same things still go on to much less of a degree, but the world isn't really what you'd call a free planet of beings. In all these thousands and millions of years, it's still pretty messed up. That people on a planet would deliberately, intentionally pollute their own air and water, set off nuclear bombs in our own atmosphere, knowing how dangerous radiation is, that they would do these kinds of things and produce products that have negative side effects and harm people for money is as backward and as retarded and as insane as anything has ever existed. That beings collectively would do that and think nothing of it. Well, don't even give it a second thought. You know, screw over your fellow man in the name of business or politics. That's not normal. That's very far away from normal. What people on Earth don't know, because they've been made to forget it, is there are countless worlds out there that don't work like this on Earth. They don't even think that way. They don't pollute their environment. They don't pollute their air. They would never think about doing it in the first place. Most of them have done away with money and financial systems because it's a way for tyrants to control masses of people. You know, I say this to people not because I'm saying throw away your money and don't be practical or quit your job, or no, because we got a whole planet of people who are programmed this way. And you have to do that while you're becoming enlightened, and use these things or people won't give you food. You can't buy anything in a restaurant. But in reality, money, for instance, is made from the bark of trees, made into paper with ink put on it. And people think that's valuable, and they'll kill for it. And it's just bark from trees. Same place toilet paper comes from. And they're digits in computer that represent the great wealth of the world. Most of it's not in printed currency, and a small amounts in coins. The rest is just digits in a computer. There's no gold or silver behind it. So people, you see, are living a life the way other people want them to live it. It's okay to have money or to deal with it. That's the way this planet is for now. But it's not going to stay this way forever. Things are moving through the universe now in a momentum in one direction. And it's as big as the entire galaxies in all of time and space. It's only moving in one direction. Earth and all of its resistances and all of its deceits and lies and all the corruption that goes on here is in the way of that energy. It's going to come right through this place and keep going. There isn't any power on this earth or in other world systems that will prevent that, or that can prevent that. That's a good thing, because that energy is designed to retire a very old experiment that created this nonsense like what we experience on Earth in the first place. It was an experiment, and it's a failed experiment. It does not work. It doesn't work to produce enlightened beings who will voluntarily create with their fellow beings here on another worlds wonderful things for the benefit of everyone. That's the only requirement we were ever given. It isn't about worshiping the source, the supreme being, on your knees. That source, I go to that source all the time. I commune with that source. It never requested or demanded or encouraged people to worship it. We are comprised of exactly the same thing as it on a smaller scale. Same faculties on a smaller scale to create as well. Our purpose is to find new ways of doing things and bring it back home and share it. That's why we exist. It's an incredible destiny and future when people begin to realize what they really exist, what their purpose for existing really is. And that's it. If you want to control people, get them to forget that. If you want to wake people up, get them to remember it. Does that make sense?
I have a question from Ruth Margot. Okay.
From who?
Ruth Margot.
Okay.
Another viewer. She said, I love your teaching. However, I don't like excuses why humanity has not been given knowledge of the truth and history. It was taken from us, and so why can't it be given back? People may be confused for a short time, but no one will be wanting to hurt anymore. After all, these are only temporary bodies. So why not do the shift, get rid of the bodies and be pure Atma again? Then can choose where to go.
Because every person on this earth, whether they can admit it or not, was involved with everyone else. I don't care if they call them archangels or people beyond them. Were involved in the creation originally of the experiment we call evil. positive and negative, good and bad, choose to do something bad, choose to not do it. That's where it started. And it looks good on paper if you use evil to cattle prod people to move in the right direction. If you put people, hang people's feet over fire, they're going to want to run away from the fire because they'll get burned. It's that idea. It doesn't work. It never did. It's failed. All it did was end up trapping beings in the lower dimensions and bodies thinking they're bodies. And tyrants got a hold of that and really messed with it. People on Earth, human beings, are much older than they know. Human beings in this form, this body form, is many billions of years old. It didn't evolve on Earth from a Neanderthal, a caveman, like they're taught in school. That's nonsense. There's no proof on this world that can prove that. It's theory. Human beings evolved out in other world systems and other galaxies long ago and were brought here, including most of the plant and mammalian life and insect life and everything else you can find here, came from all over creation. In one scenario or another, over 50 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct. People on Earth, the woman who asked this question, in the core of her being, she hasn't lost any of those abilities or faculties. They've just been suppressed. They're still there. And because they've been suppressed for so long, that's like a tight knot. It has to be untightened very carefully so a person can wake up and use these faculties that go beyond what a body can do while keeping the body alive and healthy. Setting that free releases a lot of energy. And a being has to know where to put that energy. Otherwise, negative subconscious influences will get them to divert it into destructive things, even without their conscious free will. That we don't want. What we want is for people to recover what was taken from them in a way that's practical, on a planetary scale, all over this planet, not just on Earth. This isn't just going on here. Going on out in this galaxy, wherever there's tyrant world systems, changes are going on there you can't imagine. So that this kind of thing does not continue. Once it's set straight, it's going to be over for good. People can have human bodies, but they should also know how to get out of them and be who they are, too. And there's nothing wrong with a physical plane and marriage or kids or any of it. But people should know who and what they are while they're doing it. You make people forget that, they're kind of stuck. What this woman needs to know, and what I would say to her, when you work with the hue, this first sound vibration behind all creation, it connects the core of the being that's been made to forget right to the center where they came from, directly. They don't know this at first, but that's what it's doing. And it opens a doorway, and this source and you are in communication. And it says, oh my God, you're down there, you're not coming home. Wait, what do you mean you've been unconscious for 4 million years? And the process begins to be reversed. But the person that on Earth has to co-create their imagination into this omnipresent living energy in the right way so that it can respond to them co-creatively and set them free. Person has to create that pathway for them to be free, because they emanate telepathically an energy that says, I'm ready to recover who I am and return to the source so I can do my part to help change all this. People can't change the way this world is from Earth. There's not anybody collectively on this Earth that can change the negative direction it's headed. They're too suppressed. Even the leaders, classified leaders, they have the same problems everybody else does. Because we're not alone in the universe, it's going to take, and literally quite practically going to take, massive numbers of beings from other worlds who are willing voluntarily, collectively, to get involved here and change this place. It isn't involving misusing free will. They don't work with psychic energy and get into people psychically and all that stuff. No, they work with telepathy, which is a pure form of communication between beings. There's no negative and positive in it to hoodwink and trick people. It's the energy that existed before those dual currents of positive and negative came into creation in the lower worlds. So we go back into that pure form of communication. We start requesting assistance. We start working our imagination correctly. We start imagining what we want to happen in our lives, but never selfishly. That's wrong. When we want something good to happen in our lives, when this hue passes through us to fill it, to fulfill it, you have to do it so that that energy passes through you. So while it's helping you, it's going to go beyond you and out into your environment and help others too. This omnipresent living energy isn't selfish. It won't just work just for you. It's got to work through you for the benefit of all life. That's how people on earth need to start thinking and imagining if they want this to flow through them freely and change the way their reality is. They have to be personally involved co-creatively. You can't just have someone wave a magic wand and go, you're all awake, it's all over. Because those beings, after being suppressed for so long, would not know what to do with the energy that's set free, and they would just create havoc everywhere. So there's a practical side to recovery, to remembering, to enlightenment. And it has to do with being able to be responsible and consciously know how to wield energy when it's set free properly. That's my answer. Maybe I think she probably, whoever she is, she probably got some value from that, but that's just information. What's important is that when she works with the hue, she'll begin to have her own awakening, enlightenment, and wisdom. Her IQ will go up. Her ability, intelligence will rise. And she'll be able to see and understand things she could never understand before, easily and without effort. The correct use of the imagination does not require effort, like people think. It's effortless. I'll give you an example of what I mean. This is how effortless it is. If you sit and imagine, and everybody's seen a hummingbird, right? Perry, you've seen one, I've seen one. Mm-hmm. Or you've seen a waterfall, you've been to the beach, you put your feet in the sand, and drink some nice cold water, had a popsicle, whatever. Stood out in the rain, smelled flowers. Everybody knows that as a physical being. And when you close your eyes and imagine something maybe a flower, a gardenia you just smelled an hour ago, you go, that was great. Without thinking about it, the person is actually seeing and smelling that experience, but that's not being done in their brain at all. The being is actually reviewing the experience, seeing it. That's how effortless it is to travel into other worlds and into the higher dimensions. As an Atma, as an energy that is not restricted to the rules of time and space, not restricted to the speed of light, not restricted to gravitational fields, because it comes from a plane where they don't exist. That's really interesting, because when I say that, if people hear it and understand it, it begins a process where they can begin to remember what they've been made to forget. It starts to surface. It's a natural process. When they work with the hue, there's a certain kind of protection that goes along with it. That what's important is that each person experience this for themselves, because it gives them confidence over time to go deeper, to trust themselves more, to trust themselves that they will survive going out into the universe and finding out the truth, going out into other dimensions while their body's still alive, leaving their body while it's still alive before they die. This is what human beings should be able to do on any planet and any dimension. Most people don't even know they've heard this. They know that there's other dimensions. Mathematicians on Earth can prove there's at least 11 higher divisional dimensions. They don't know how to get to them, but they know they're there. Some classified scientists are working with parallel dimensions and anti-gravity on this planet, but they aren't telling the rest of the people anything about it because they've got this conditioning that says if we do, some enemies overseas will use it, and they'll use it as a weapon before we can use it as a weapon, and then we're going to have a fight. So they classify all this stuff. They're also concerned about tyrant extraterrestrials that have come here and made treaties with governments on this planet to give us antiquated, outdated extraterrestrial technology to do abusive things to people on this world. Nobody in their right mind as a president or as a leader would agree to this. But they did. I don't blame them. They did because these beings they met with, the tyrant ones, had a technology to influence their free will against their better judgment. They couldn't have done otherwise, so I don't blame them. I really don't. What was done to them was done without their consent also. Now, there are beings and races of beings out there that monitor and police what these tyrants do. And they have been all along. If they hadn't been, we would all be gone on this planet right now, and nuclear war would have been done a long time ago. But I don't worry about that. No matter what the governments tell people, ooh, there's going to be a nuclear bomb go off from North Korea, blah, blah, blah. No, there isn't. To have weapons you can't use is kind of pointless. They sit in bomb casings rusting over decades. What's the point of that? How is that useful? Personnel have to guard them and watch over them and change the casings when they were out. And it's just nonsense. It's useless, radioactive garbage. What's the point? You can't go into outer space using radioactive materials to power ships. And I'll tell you why. Because the beings that are out there will not tolerate it. Period. That's never going to happen. Not ever. Earth is going to have to grow up and come along with the more advanced races out there. They're willing to offer that and bring that to this planet. It doesn't have another choice. Because people on Earth, classified or otherwise, do not and never have had the right to bring deception and dishonesty and radiation and things out into space to go and raid the universe and mine its minerals or something. They're never going to be able to do it because space is already occupied by far more advanced races. They're kind, mostly. So what's the future of Earth going into space the way it's running right now? There isn't one. And there won't be one until this planet is changed to take its place with others. Then all the technology, cures for cancer and all that stuff, they'll give it to us for nothing. There won't be even a charge for it. They'll bring their technicians and expertise and people that are qualified here to help us because they're motivated this way to serve all life in constructive, uplifting ways. That's how they grow up. It's not like people on Earth, and you can't blame them, don't really have any understanding of what's out beyond this planet because their governments have collectively decided to keep it from them at a huge expense since World War II came to an end. 35 countries decided to do that on this planet. So people would be calm and rebuild and have babies and rebuild a destroyed world after World War II. That's how they thought after World War II. They wanted people to feel safe. If they knew people at that time that tyrant extraterrestrials and good ones as well were coming here, the consensus was that people wouldn't feel calm enough or at that time to rebuild a damaged world and be baby boomers. And they were probably right in that thinking at that time. You know, the original things that was set up under former President Truman, which created the National Security Act and the CIA after the Roswell crash in New Mexico, there were others. That's just the one that became public. for a short time, about a day or two. Those events, how that craft was shot down or why it crashed, or others, were not shot down by our militaries on this planet. What does that mean, do you suppose, to people when they first hear that? Radar did not shoot down an anti-gravity extraterrestrial craft that we developed after World War II. That's some of the stories somebody touts out there to give people misinformation. That's nonsense. Radar, a craft's going to go from 500 million light years away and get here across the stars, and radar is going to make it go wacky? Not likely. But people will swallow anything, you know, sometimes. The point is that we have never been alone in this universe. People on Earth did not originate as individual races originally on this planet in the first place. Asian people, Caucasian people, African American, what they're called, did not originate on this planet. They originated on whole world systems where the predominant human type race was like that skin tone, different eye colors and different variations, and were brought here often as slaves to do the dirty work for tyrants in small colonies on this planet under treaty, and left behind when they were done using them, with no technology, to be like savage and start all over again. The history of this planet, its real history, is not taught in schools here, not by any means. It certainly goes much further back than Sumeria or Rome and Egypt and all these royal family tyrant bloodline races, you know, that demanded blood sacrifice and all that kind of thing. The royal family idea did not originate on this planet, by the way. That kind of thinking was imported here from elsewhere. The universe is very old compared to planet Earth. Galaxies are very old compared to a lifetime of a human being. Super galaxies are very old. Higher dimensions are even older. So when you think about that, we have one choice on this planet moving forward. We either get to play among the stars with everyone else, like good boys and girls, and have fun, or we get to be stuck here on this world, quarantined, and kept from moving out into the stars because we're dangerous. That's how people from outside think about people from Earth. They have compassion and love for people on Earth. They respect them, but they also know how twisted they are subconsciously, how misdirected they are. And they want to get that undone in a way that's practical, that will help people to live normal lives while they're waking up all this stuff. For instance, when we go on these journeys, your body goes into the trance state we call sleep, the same one you put it in when you put yourself to bed at night. And then we go out consciously and explore things, utilizing the higher faculties, reawakening, recovering the higher faculties of being that have been sleeping, dormant, suppressed. Mostly because people aren't taught from birth that they even exist. So why would they start to exercise what they don't even believe in or even know exists, you see? Once they start recovering awareness of this, they can't help but start using it, because long ago they once knew how to do this stuff very well. Long ago in the history they've been made to forget. So with that in mind, we should probably go on a little journey. When I send out the hue in these various tones and different pitches, it's to raise the frequency of energy, the vibration rate up. Take it out of the negative and put it into the higher, what we call the higher worlds. Time and space it's real to beings and bodies living in different dimensions, but in a way to the Atma, time and space is an illusion, because it can move freely between time and space, past, future. It can move through the creation. And we're meant to do that. We're supposed to do that. We're supposed to be able to do that while we're running a life and a family and a body on a planet. We're supposed to know how to do that and be aware of who we are while we're doing it. So that's what these exercises are for. To begin to get things that have been dormant and sleeping a long time brought to the surface of consciousness. That means the real, true free will of a person has to be creatively or co-creatively involved in this process. It means that someone only needs to imagine for themselves what it is I share with them. And then they begin to see it. And then eventually they begin to know it. And then they begin to remember. And then they gain back confidence. I would ask anybody listening, that means classified people, government people, I don't care if they're presidents of the United States or CIA or NSA or who they are, on any country, I don't care if Putin listens. It's for everyone's benefit, without exception. It will only benefit them. There's no negative in what I do. That's hard for people to comprehend on a planet like Earth. So when you begin to work with energies and transmit them out to a planet that are only uplifting and beneficial, it only works if it's uplifting and beneficial for all life. Because that's how beings I work with from other worlds think and operate. So I can't do anything less than that. I would ask them to put whatever fears they have, their age, fear of their age, fear of what they are, health conditions, to the best of their ability, just for a short time, on an imaginary shelf. It can be on the carpet, on the floor of their car if they're sitting in a car, lying on the grass out in the meadow, sitting or lying on a couch or a chair. Just like you imagine a beautiful butterfly or rain or a snow-capped mountain. You just put all those fears, like in a computer storage device, and just stick them over there. Those are all my fears. Fears of the future, fear of death, fear of eternal life, fear of getting out of the body. Oh no, the devil's going to get me. Any of that kind of stuff. Put it aside. Trust your own eternal center that's always been there. It's a white core. It's spherically shaped. It is not made of matter. It is energy. It's fully conscious and it's individual. It exists to co-create with other spheres like this, new ways of doing things for the uplifting benefit of all life, not just on one planet where a person finds themselves, but on all worlds for the benefit of all life. When beings on Earth begin to think and imagine this way again, this planet will be changed virtually overnight. Just transformed. Imagination properly used has command, complete command over matter, energy, space, and time, and over positive and negative things. Even over past lives, even over reincarnation. It can end that. So people don't get into bodies and get out of them unconsciously, like in being born and dying. They don't need to do that, but they believe they do, so their imagination creates that. And this omnipresent force just fills it. So we don't want to do that. Put all that stuff on a shelf, just lay it around the carpet where we are. Take several deep breaths. And just relax your shoulders and your head and let all the concerns about the future of Earth and nuclear war and all that stuff, or this just for now, we're not going to take it with us. We're leaving it behind with the body. As I begin to send out this hue, this first way of making a sound that parallels the actual sound of the omnipresent living energy in all things that underlies all the void of time and space, the void between planets, between galaxies, between dimensions, parallel and higher. There's an energy field that runs through all that. That is what we co-create with. And we do it on every single plane of existence. An Atma, you and me and everyone else, has the ability as the Atma to comprehend this. This goes way beyond IQ measurements on planet Earth, beyond anything you can even imagine. Begin to bring that kind of awareness and intelligence to the physical form. And it happens more rapidly when people stop thinking incorrectly that brilliance and mind and intelligence comes from the brain. It does not. That's not what it's for. It comes from the being. I'm going to send out this hue in successively higher tones. And it will set up, what it does really is it connects with the core of your being, a pure energy. This isn't an individual ego, influencing you or misdirecting you or interfering with your free will. No. It comes from the source, it comes through me, I co-create with it, it comes to you, and it begins to cause your pineal gland in the center of your brain, in your physical body, to secrete melatonin, it creates serotonin, and basically what it's doing is putting the body on automatic. It makes the heart work and the lungs work, breathe. So it lives and is comfortable while you leave it behind. There is an unbreakable energy connection, telepathic one, between you, the Atma, and that body through the pineal gland in the center of the brain. It is of a type of energy that cannot be interfered with by any negative frequency, being, or misuse of technology. It was set up that way in the beginning. Remember, as I do up these tones, your body will begin to go into the trance state called sleep. It's nothing new to you. You do it every night when you put the body to bed. Only we're going on a little journey consciously while the body's in this state. This is out-of-body travel 101. It's the way beings move around. Consciously aware beings in other worlds, in spaceships or without them, move around this way. And they have bodies and families on their worlds and everything else. But they're not stuck in them, like people on Earth think they are. I'll begin these now. You. This brings the body into the trance state we call sleep. It is a technique older than time, older than planets. Atoms, not bodies, utilize this to connect with the source, what people call the Supreme Being. But it is not some guy or girl sitting on a throne like a human being, lording itself over everyone, demanding worship. That is not what it is. There is a source that you can commune with. All that it requires of us and each other is that we respect all life. That is it. That means in order to have what you would call God, your own self on a smaller scale, return to you, you have to be able to comprehend and respect all life in the entire grand multi-dimensional creation. Can't have it all if you can't respect it all. It's just that simple. And it makes spiritual common sense. The Atma, what we really are, was never meant to wallow in evil or negativity permanently. There is no permanent hell. If you want to go to hell, get incarnated on earth. It's good and bad, and it's everything in between. But every condition you can find in some hell exists on this planet right here somewhere. It's a great world, but it's messed up. Beings on it don't remember who they are. And that needs to change. For the first time in the entire history of creation, in new ways. When you go into the hue, this way, the body goes into this trance state. The beat gets turned on automatic, it's safe, it's protected, and then you can leave and go on journeys that are enlightening, that help you to recall and remember who and what you really are. From wherever you are, be above your body. This is not done through thought or emotion. This is just like seeing a hummingbird. Your eyes are closed, or they should be if you're listening, which means there's nothing coming in through the eyes to the brain. When you see a hummingbird with your eyes closed, the brain is not seeing it. You're not pulling it up from memory cells in the brain and seeing it projected on what? Another brain cell? No. You're seeing it as a being out of the body. Be above your body on this, up near the ceiling, or above your car, or up a chair, or lying in a field, looking down on your body, sitting there or lying there peacefully, just as if you were looking at your body asleep when you're outside of it. Just that easy. Part of you will want to complicate this and make it a very hard, mental, anguishing, painful exercise, but this is not how this works. You just imagine. It's important, though, that each individual understand what the imagination is. The faculties of a spherical energy being that you are is capable of seeing and hearing in all directions simultaneously, or wherever it places its attention. You might want to get that, Be above wherever you live, up in the air, up in the sky, overlooking your city or countryside, wherever you are on this planet. I don't care if you're underground 2 miles in some secret military base, or if you're on the backside of the moon, or a leader of a country. It works the same for all. It always has. It will bring a peace and a calm into your life in the center of the core of your being and spread it out through your being. Be above in the clouds, up above the sky, looking down on your area, and see right through the roof of your building or wherever you're lying down, see your body there from above. I'm going to appear before you wherever you are on this planet. Perry is too. You're going to see us as beautiful spheres that look like this. Imagine a white core like the sun in the center of an individual being. First layer around it, separated at a distance, are teardrop shaped, luminous, self-luminous lights in several layers, and they go through the spectrum color of light from white to orange to red. They go into blue and green. I think I'm getting this right. And then to indigo and violet, and there's a golden energy around it, like an electromagnetic field. Each one of those thousands of teardrop-shaped lights in different layers of color is a higher faculty, and it has stored information and memory in them from other lives, not just as human, but on other worlds and in higher dimensions and higher forms. And when the person starts to become aware of this, they can investigate these, turn them on. But look away from yourself, wherever you are, and you can see this shape in myself and Perry hovering there beside you. Time and space are not limiting factors to the Atma. I don't care if there's 10,000 people listening to this and doing it. You will see us. And then you'll recognize when you talk with any of us, it's telepathic, there's no vocal cords, you'll realize you look exactly the same way. Be above the planet. I literally mean this. It's effortless. Remember how you imagine a butterfly or a waterfall or green grass walking down the street? Same thing, only you're not doing it with your body in the trance state back on Earth. You're doing it as a being. See, the void of space looks dark in every direction, but there's billions of stars out there. Look up, look down, to the right, to the left. You don't need to breathe oxygen out here in the void of space. There isn't any. But because you're in the Atma form, you can see there is a field of white light with a golden tinge to it, radiating through the supposed empty black void of space. And it has a sound, like a humming. It's one form of the hue. It connects all things together, beings like us, because it moves through us freely, unhindered. and we move in it to get around. This energy is not limited to the speed of light as people understand it on Earth. It is not bound by gravity. Physical light or visible light to certain levels of spectrums, certain levels of vibrational frequency can be bent by gravitational fields, but this energy is the source behind such things. You can see the moon. You can see the polar ice caps of the planet. Where Peri is, it's daylight. So she's facing the sun. That part, the other half of the planet's in darkness because it's facing away from the sun. You can see the sun gleaming off in the distance. There's a friend that I bring along, always has to come along on these journeys. His name is Ambassador Torellian. He is an ambassador of the Say race. This race of beings, we are humans in our form, come from the genetics and the science of the Say race. Long ago, several billion years ago, this race, these Atmas, immortalized what you would call their physical bodies over 1 billion years ago. And we, this form, not the Atma, but the human form, comes from them. They're very tall. They were on their world 18 to 25 feet, much taller than humans on Earth. They helped bring many species into existence. Bipedal, that means they walk upright with 2 arms and legs in different variations. Helped them get to a spacefaring capability and communicating with each other, and then they vanished into the background to see what we would do with it. I think everybody knows the end result of that wasn't so great. So they're kind of coming back into the scene to help encourage races to become who they really are once again and do what was originally designed, to become co-creators that can be trusted, to bring about new ways of doing things for all life. That's why we're here. You can feel this white light with a gold tinge. You can see it moving through the apparent black void of space in all directions. And as it passes through you, you hear a sound like something every Atma knew once. I've forgotten. The original connection to the source cannot and never was severed or destroyed. But energy fields can be put around the Atma that make it see false or distorted images when it looks out into the universe to know things. Once you become aware of this fact, you, the real being, begins to take back command over negative things. This is how this works. You begin to send out into this omnipresent living energy, of which you are also comprised, that you want to create your way out of this trap and be of benefit to all life along the way, and it will cooperate with you. You will co-create a series of circumstances that will result in your enlightening freedom. It is inevitable. Once you cross paths with the hue, it is inevitable. It is one way. Recovery. I was just talking with Torellian, who is a spherical being like us, a little brighter perhaps. But Torellian doesn't put himself above us beings from Earth. He respects all life. He sees the problems we've had growing up here and how difficult it is for us to grasp things we once knew when we're never taught them from birth. He's just assuring all of you on this journey that if you request the help sincerely, you will get help from friends from very far out of town, and I mean not from this world, to unravel this tight knot. In dealing with Turelian and working with him and the Galactic Alliance personnel that I introduced to people, husband and wife teams aboard ships that police our solar system right now to protect it. They don't like to interfere in the choices of people on planets, but they do recognize that the mass of people on Earth do no longer have true free will. It was manipulated away from them at one time or another. That means that they don't really remember who they are, so they make a lot of mistakes. They're not working on all thrusters regarding higher faculties of perception and awareness and wisdom that they need. So the first thing that's underway in this U is to get people all over the world, government people, royal families, classified people, all the people, aware of what they are as a being once again. True free will, right decision making can only come from that. So the first thing is to get people to recover true free will, and then it's understood that people in mass on this planet will collectively make the right choices. This is how this works. When I'm speaking, it's telepathic. You hear the words, but I'm talking with you being to being in a very protected communication network that no form of negativity can penetrate. If it tried, it would be mirrored back on the sender, amplified. Fortunately for them, they would not be destroyed. They would be changed. So they wouldn't want to do that kind of thing. There are people on this earth that know this already. Something is underway now out in our solar system that is designed to change the way this world is, with the free will cooperation of the inhabitants of this planet. The beings I work with are not tyrants. They only work co-creatively to help people who are working on all thrusters with true free will. So that's the first thing people need to recover. They need to know what true free will is and why they would want it back. It's simple. Would anybody of true free will decide to set off a nuclear bomb in the atmosphere of their own planet? Of course not. You see my point? This is Turelian's point as well. Space is already occupied. We have been invited to play in it freely. To do that, we have to recover true free will and operate as normal beings. This process is now underway, and it cannot be reversed. Fortunately for us, we must still live on this planet for now. Let's go on a little higher journey. I want to take you to a planet called Oceania. It's in a parallel dimension of this physical universe, 3 levels up. It's not astral, it's not a major division, it's within the different frequency levels of the parallel universe that's located, the universes that are located in the physical dimension. For all of you listening, see yourselves hovering here above the earth. From here, you can use your vision, like X-ray vision or photographic vision or zoom lenses, and you can see all the way down through the atmosphere of Earth. You can see your body, wherever it is, in the trance state called sleep. Serene, peaceful. But you're also up here above the planet. Your body's also down there on Earth, but you're up here. The body's fine. It's on automatic. It's running just fine. Don't worry about it. You do this every night when you go to sleep anyway. You're going to see like a cyclone of blue-violet, beautiful energy moving slowly in a circle appear above us. And Perry and myself and all of you joining us form a circle around Terrellian. This isn't for control. It's so we have a focus to a common point so we can all go on this journey together and get something accomplished and not get scattered. You're going to see this vortex widen, and you can see it's like a cyclone, but it's not harmful. It's an opening from this place above Earth to a planet that's mostly water covered. You can see its sun off in the distance. It has 3 moons around it. You can see a few islands near the equator, but it's all water covered. No polar ice caps. You're going to see a flash of light, and we're all going to move as spheres of light, as the Atma, up through this vortex in a beam of light and come out the other side. And you're going to find that you're hovering above this other world. You're still hovering around Terrellian, looking down on this world. It's a beautiful blue-green kind of ocean world. Some large continent, not continent size, but large island land masses, various places near and around the equator, but no big continents of any kind. This is a physical matter, but it's a higher frequency of physical matter, and the beings here are very ancient. They are humanoid or human. They have blue skin, pale blue skin, pointed ears, beautiful, lovely eyes, slightly bigger than Earth human, long black, silken black hair, slender and trim and fit, and some of them are many thousands of years old. Their bodies do not age here like they do on Earth. It's higher science and understanding. Terrellian is motioning down towards the planet, and we're moving in a circle around him, down through the white clouds with a slight violet tinge to them. And when you hit the atmosphere, the air is vibrant. There's energy alive in this atmosphere that you don't find on Earth. And you can breathe it through your being as if you had lungs, and it passes through you, and it's very uplifting. It hums. It's very alive, light, effortless. And we're going to see an island approaching down near the equator. We're rapidly approaching it. And now you can see in the jungle trees of this large island that there are huge, transparent, clear domed cities, 1/2 mile high, 3 miles long, covering 3 giant golden-sided pyramids with quartz crystal caps, and cities and landscapes and small domed dwellings, lakes and rivers, and a long ivory-colored domed building way down near the base of the pyramids, centered between all 3. You can see white walkways weaving through violet grass, about 4 inches tall. And there are Oceanian men and women, a few children, walking up this path. You're going to find yourself suddenly manifesting a physical form here. It's not a physical body like you have on Earth. It's an energetic form that looks like you, and you can feel your feet touching this smooth marble-like stone. It's cool. And there's a man approaching you who looks very stately, maybe appears to be 40. Pointed, slightly pointed here. Skin is beautiful, smooth, pale blue skin, long, slender fingers. He's telepathic, and he's going to lift his head up, and you can see under his neck 3 little slits sideways. You wouldn't even notice them otherwise. These are gills. They're human beings who lived or evolved with human DNA to breathe underwater or on land, because they have dome cities on the bottom of their ocean here connected through transport tubes. Their science is considered to be the most evolved crystalline-based technology in our galaxy. And in fact, it's coming from three-dimensional levels in the physical universe above where we are on planet Earth. Their technology allows them to travel between 144 parallel dimensions that exist in the physical universe. Whole worlds of beings on different levels that know each other. To them, this is normal. To Earth people, they have a darn hard time even comprehending it. They are capable of it when they recover true free will. So go up to this, walk up, all of you, just kind of surround this man, and he's going to point to the city, and he's going to telepathically tell you about it. I'm going to be silent for a few moments. You're going to see a woman come up to you, beautiful, elegant, lovely. They're very beautiful. You would fall in love with them instantly if you were suddenly there on that planet. They radiate such a high vibration. These are Oceania men and women. I have not forgotten about any of you. I'm still here, standing beside this being. His name is Opel. Now you know his name. He is like he's not a dictator or a ruler. He's the spiritual leader of their culture because he's the most wise and most advanced. Not for any other reason. Here you can see birds moving from trees. Quite unusual trees. They look like weeping willow trees with spoon-shaped leaves on the end that are luminous, phosphorescent almost. It's a type of algae that grows in harmony on these trees that radiate light. They're really quite something. And in the branches of the trees, you'll hear birds singing beautiful tones, better than humans, and different levels in harmony, but they're birds. They look like a blue jay, that kind, but their eyes are a little bit bigger and wrapped partially around their head. They're oval-shaped, blue pools of mystery. And they have long V-shaped split tails like a swallow, but much longer. And their feathers are multicolored like a rainbow, like a prism of light through a prism. They're lovely. These are beings or Atmas running bird bodies here. They know it. They're telepathic. They have vocal cords. They can talk with you. They're not like animals on Earth. They exist in different planets and different levels, this particular species. They exist in an ancient continent that used to be called Lemuria here 100,000 years ago on Earth. In a parallel dimension on Earth, there's still a Lemuria that was never destroyed because the poles did not flip there. There's a lot people don't know. You're going to see some more Oceanian people come out of dwellings, beautifully structured, little white walkways off to the left of this main path, and they will come out and stand near you. They can see your physical appearing form. They know it's a projection from you, the spherical being that's hovering above these bodies. They see that too. They know we're here. Perhaps some of you might remember or be familiar with this place, somewhere in your dreams, somewhere in a past life, somewhere, somehow. This all seems familiar. This human race or humanoid race is so similar in genes to human beings, you could actually mate with them or have children. Not that they would want to or you would want to, but they could. They come from the same source in genetic history, originally from the Say race. This is one of the oldest races and most advanced. If you want to, you can leave an energetic form of yourself here. You won't lose anything. It just means it'll be easier for you to come back here and visit. The Atma is capable of doing this and running a body back on Earth at the same time. You just have to know. Find yourself, this physical form, talking with them. Say goodbye, and it will dissolve. And you're a sphere hovering above them, and they're waving goodbye. They know we're leaving. Pelham is telling us that we can come back here, that we're welcome. And you're going to find yourself hovering around Terrellian and myself, the whole sphere of people that came with us on this journey, in space, 3 moons around the planet, hovering above this ocean-covered world. And then while you're here seeing it, you can also see behind you, right through 3-dimensional levels. And you can see us hovering in the same circle around Terrellian above the planet Earth. And the next thing you know, you're fully above the planet Earth. And from here, you can see back through that blue-violet vortex, and you can see the planet Oceania still there. This is a pure energy conduit. Nothing of a negative nature can come here or go through that opening. You look down on wherever you are on Earth, and you see yourself hovering above your physical body. When you look above from that sphere hovering above your physical body, you can see yourself hovering around Terrellian in the orbit above planet Earth, looking at the polar ice caps. And then you find yourself above your body more fully, looking down on it, maybe from the ceiling or above your house. And then when you're ready, just open your eyes and you'll be back here. How is that for you, Perry?
Yeah, I met a lady, Oceania lady.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Uh-huh. And when I talk, but when we come back, I don't know what it is about, as you.
Because you, the being, knows. And eventually it will filter through your physical consciousness on Earth. It takes a little, let's face it, people grow up here pretty twisted about everything. They've got wrong ideas about everything, religion, who to what to respect. They don't know, they don't know how people live on other worlds. So much better, so much more advanced. They don't deal with all the deceit and dishonesty of tyrant kings and religious leaders in our past. They don't have any of that. Those worlds we go to do not have represented there any form of religion that's practiced on this planet. They know much more in truth about what this thing we call divine spirit is than people on Earth do. They don't worship it, they just respect it. It's effortless. Well, I want to leave everybody with that. And of course, this has been recorded, so I will stop the recording in a moment, and we can get it up on your YouTube channel, and people can be benefited by it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.